My boyfriend didn't want to help in a medical emergency. I'm very torn about something that happened and would like an outsider's perspective. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost a year. During the relationship, it has always been a problem that he never prioritizes me and chooses his own comfort over me. This is because he's been struggling a lot with his mental health and didn't have the mental strength to give me the love and effort I deserve. I understood this and chose to support him and believe his promises of being less selfish in the future, as besides not being prioritized, he was kind and loving to me. Besides, his selfishness always involves small things that some might perceive as not a big deal. He says this as well. A few examples are not wanting to drive me home, a 10-minute drive, as it will cost him money, or he doesn't want to leave his cat, or he's wearing pajamas. Another example would be rarely coming over to my place as, again, he doesn't want to leave his cat, he prefers eating dinner at his place, or he doesn't feel comfortable in big happy families. He had a bad childhood and was raised by his mom only. Another example would be that when my cat went missing, he didn't help search the first week as he didn't feel like it. Or he decided to smoke knowing my mom expected us to help search and then didn't come as he didn't want my mom to see him stoned. A last example would be that he hasn't taken me on a date ever since we started dating. This is because he had to do a hair test for court, so he didn't feel like going out as he felt restricted because he couldn't drink. I've always had an understanding for this, and I genuinely didn't mind as I enjoyed all our lazy movie nights, and I was promised a better time once his troubles were over and he felt mentally better. This went on for 9 months until he finally got his hair test done. Last September, he did start making more efforts. He came to pick me up and brought me back home. He started paying for my food when we ordered takeout. He used to always ask me to pay him back. We went to a festival, and when I didn't feel good, he stayed with me and cared for me. Lastly, we went on a vacation and I got sick one evening where he also took care of me. So he was really working on it and was finally starting to step up. Until the end of September when he broke a very important boundary. Because of this, I've been acting more distant, meaning I don't say I love you 1,000 times a day and I'm not as affectionate anymore. Touching him all the time, giving him kisses any chance I get, and being very sexually active. I've been trying to get over the disrespect and break of trust, but I can't help but feel less love and desire for him. Of course, I still deeply love him, but things just don't feel the same as my butterflies have disappeared. My boyfriend noticed this, and has been less energetic as he thinks it's a little unfair since he didn't cheat or treat me horribly. Now I'm finally getting to the part that I wanted to talk about. Last week, my parents were on a trip. My brother, who went to play a hockey match in another city, called me as he fell during his match and couldn't walk or drive anymore. As my parents were not available, he asked me to come so I could drive him to the hospital as his foot was already looking very swollen and he was in a lot of pain. Now, because my brother took the car to go to his match, I asked my boyfriend, who was already at my place, to drive me there as it was a medical emergency and I didn't have a car. He told me he didn't want to because he didn't really feel like it as he was tired, and he told me it would ruin his evening as he had made plans to go for a drink with his friends. Mind you, there were still 3 hours left until he was supposed to meet up with them. Eventually, the mother and sister of my brother's girlfriend drove there and picked him up despite the mother undergoing surgery 2 days prior. Meanwhile, my boyfriend went out with his friends. After this happened, me, my family, my brother's girlfriend's family, and my friends are shocked and angry at his lack of empathy and willingness to help. The day after, I had to explain to him over chat why I was upset as he didn't understand. After explaining, he blamed me for his lack of empathy as I've been acting distant and it's making him think twice before he drops everything for me. And he told me it was unfair that I was upset as he explained his past to me and I should understand why he behaves that way. He also blamed it on the medical emergency happening at an unfortunate moment and that he had simply hoped someone else would help out. I stood firm during this conversation and kept my point, so he eventually apologized. Yesterday, after a week of not seeing each other, we had a talk. This talk went totally wrong as I got so upset that I ended up leaving. He only talked about his own feelings and then added a "but I understand your view and I'm sorry." He also told me that I just have a lot of emotions, that everything has context, that I interpret everything wrong and that I generalize everything. He also told me that the medical emergency wasn't a big deal either as my brother just hurt his foot. I was so angry and in disbelief as all I hoped for was a genuine apology. After I left, he sent me a few long texts explaining how upsetting and hurtful it is for him to hear all this negative feedback. I did call him a narcissist. He also told me that he was sorry and for me to come back so we could finish the talk. I ignored these messages as I was too upset until he sent me a long crying voice message explaining his side again, but also telling me how much he loved me and doesn't want to lose me. We talked a little over chat, which at first was him still defending himself and telling me that his friends all agreed with him that he isn't egoistic and that they thought the medical emergency wasn't a big deal either, and that they understand his decision of prioritizing his night out. Eventually, it did end with him being apologetic, not wanting to lose me, and telling me to give it another chance as he is finally ready to step up. I feel so extremely torn right now as I do love him dearly, and the thought of never seeing him again hurts so much. But I also know that a relationship shouldn't be like this, and I deserve better. I deserve to be prioritized and to be loved correctly, but at the same time, just like he said, he isn't a terrible person as he doesn't cheat or beat me. Besides, because of everything he says, I'm starting to doubt myself whether I'm indeed making a big deal out of nothing. I also don't know how to start over and act as if nothing ever happened. TLDR. My boyfriend didn't want to help my brother in a medical emergency as he didn't feel like it, and it would ruin his evening. Now I don't know if I should give him another chance.